The hospital door opens. Elvis Presley rushes inside, his hair disheveled, still wearing his army uniform. "Where is she?" he demands, his voice breaking. The doctor takes off his glasses, looks at the young man who's conquered the world, but is about to lose everything that matters. She's gone. Elvis collapses to his knees. What happens next, in the darkest night of his life? Creates something so beautiful, it still brings tears 60 years later. But let's go back to the beginning of the end. Memphis, Tennessee, 1034, Audubon Drive, August 13th, 1958. Wednesday evening, 7:30 p.m. The phone rings in the Presley family home, a modest ranch house that Elvis bought for his parents when success first came calling. The August heat is oppressive, even with the air conditioning running full blast. Gladys Presley sits in her favorite chair, the blue velvet recliner Elvis bought her for Christmas, but she's not comfortable. She hasn't been comfortable for weeks. Gladys Love Smith Presley, 46 years old, born in poverty in Mississippi, raised Elvis from nothing to everything. She's small, barely 5'2", with graying brown hair that she keeps perfectly styled, and eyes that hold both infinite love and constant worry. Those eyes have watched her son transform from a shy, stuttering boy into the most famous entertainer in the world. But fame has a price, and that price has been slowly killing her. The phone call is from Fort Hood, Texas. Elvis is stationed there, serving his 2 years in the army, trying to prove to America that he's just a regular guy doing his patriotic duty. But Gladys hates that he's gone, hates that her baby is so far away, hates that she can't protect him anymore. "Mama," Elvis's voice comes through the crackling long-distance connection. Even through the static, Gladys can hear the love, the concern. "How are you feeling today?" Gladys lies, like she's been lying for weeks. "I'm fine, honey. Just tired." "How are you doing? Are you eating enough?" "You need to eat more, Elvis. You're too skinny." Elvis is not too skinny. At 23, he's in the best physical shape of his life, thanks to army training. But Gladys will always see the scrawny kid who needed her protection, needed her love, needed her guidance to navigate a world that was often cruel to the poor, the different, the dreamers. "I'm eating fine, Mama. Vernon's taking care of you, right? And Dodger?" Dodger is the family dog, a mixed-breed mutt that Elvis rescued as a puppy. In the Presley household, animals are family members, loved and spoiled like children. "Yes, honey, we're all fine. When are you coming home next?" "Soon, Mama. Real soon. I love you." "I love you too, baby, more than you'll ever know." When Gladys hangs up the phone, Vernon Presley looks at his wife with growing concern. Vernon is 42, a man who's worked construction, farming, whatever jobs he could find to keep his family fed. He's quiet where Gladys is talkative, steady where she's emotional, but he knows his wife better than anyone, and what he sees scares him. "Gladys, you need to see the doctor again. You're not fine." "I'm fine, Vernon. Stop worrying." But she's not fine. Hasn't been fine since Elvis left for the army 6 months ago. The separation anxiety is eating her alive from the inside out. She's lost weight. She didn't have to lose. She's drinking more than she should. Not because she's an alcoholic, but because alcohol is the only thing that quiets the constant fear that something will happen to her son while he's away from her protection. The next morning, Thursday, August 14th, Gladys wakes up feeling worse than she's felt in weeks. Vernon finds her in the kitchen at 6 a.m., sitting at the breakfast table, staring at a cup of coffee that's gone cold. "Gladys?" She looks up at him, and her face is grey. Not pale, grey. The color of someone whose body is shutting down. I think I think maybe I should see the doctor today. Vernon doesn't waste time with arguments or questions. He calls Dr. Charles Clark, the family physician who's known the Presleys since they moved to Memphis. Dr. Clark tells them to come in immediately. The examination takes less than 30 minutes. Dr. Clark's face grows increasingly grave as he checks Gladys's blood pressure, listens to her heart, feels the swelling in her abdomen that she's been hiding under loose clothing. Mrs. Presley, I want you to go to the hospital. Today, right now. Is it serious? Dr. Clark has been practicing medicine for 20 years. He's learned to deliver bad news gently but honestly. It's your liver, Mrs. Presley. It's not functioning properly. We need to run more tests. But I'm concerned about hepatitis, possibly acute hepatitis. Gladys doesn't fully understand what hepatitis means, but she understands the tone in Dr. Clark's voice. This is serious. This is dangerous. This might be the thing that takes her away from Elvis before she's ready to go. Memphis Methodist Hospital, August 14th, 1958. Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Gladys is admitted to a private room on the 3rd floor. Vernon calls Fort Hood immediately, tells Elvis that his mother is in the hospital, but tries to downplay the severity. He doesn't want Elvis to go AWOL, doesn't want Elvis to throw away his military service and damage his reputation. She's just tired, son. Needs some rest. The doctors want to keep an eye on her for a few days. But Elvis knows his mother better than anyone. He can hear the fear in Vernon's voice, the things Vernon isn't saying. Elvis immediately requests emergency leave to come home to Memphis. The army, surprisingly, grants it without hesitation. Even in 1958, Elvis Presley is too famous, too valuable to America's image, for the military to risk bad publicity by refusing a compassionate leave request. Meanwhile, in her hospital room, Gladys is getting worse by the hour. The hepatitis is acute, aggressive, attacking her liver faster than anyone anticipated. Dr. Clark brings in a specialist, Dr. Harrison, who takes one look at the test results and shakes his head gravely. How long does she have? Vernon asks quietly, out of Gladys's hearing. It's hard to say. With acute hepatitis this severe, days, maybe a week. Her liver is failing rapidly. Vernon's world collapses. He's about to lose the woman he's loved for 24 years, the mother of his only child, the center of everything that matters in his life. But he can't fall apart. Not yet. Not until Elvis gets here. Elvis boards a military transport plane from Fort Hood to Memphis on Thursday evening. The flight takes 3 hours, but it feels like 3 days. He sits in the back of the plane, still wearing his army uniform, staring out the window at the lights below, praying to a God he's not sure is listening. Elvis has always had a complicated relationship with faith. Raised in the Pentecostal church, he believes deeply but struggles with the contradictions between his faith and his fame, between the sacred music that moves his soul and the secular music that made him rich and famous. Tonight he prays like he's never prayed before, not for fame, not for success, not for anything material, just for more time with his mother, more chances to tell her he loves her, more opportunities to make her proud. The plane lands in Memphis at 11:45 p.m. Elvis takes a taxi directly to Methodist Hospital, not stopping at home, not changing clothes, just rushing through the hospital corridors with a desperation that frightens everyone who sees him. He finds Vernon in the waiting area outside Gladys's room. Vernon looks older than his 42 years, haggard, defeated. "How is she, Daddy?" Vernon can't speak for a moment. When he finally finds his voice, it's barely a whisper. "She's been asking for you, son. She's been asking for you all day." Elvis goes into her room. Gladys is awake, propped up in bed, connected to machines that monitor her failing body. When she sees Elvis, her face lights up with a joy so pure it breaks his heart. "Elvis, my baby, you came home." "Of course I came home, Mama. How are you feeling?" "Better now. Better now that you're here." But she's not better. Elvis can see it immediately. His mother, the strongest person he's ever known, the woman who held their family together through poverty and hardship and sudden wealth, is dying. They talk for 2 hours about everything and nothing. About his army service, about Graceland, the mansion he bought for the family earlier that year, about his career plans, about the girl he's been dating, about Dodger, and whether the dog misses him. But mostly, they just hold hands. Gladys tells Elvis stories he's heard 100 times before, about his birth during a snowstorm in Tupelo, about his twin brother Jesse who died at birth, about the first time he sang in church, about the day he bought her a pink Cadillac. "Elvis, honey," she says around 2 a.m., when visiting hours are long over, but no one has the heart to make him leave. "I need you to promise me something." "Anything, Mama. Promise me you'll take care of yourself. Promise me you won't let this crazy life destroy the good man I raised. Promise me you'll remember who you are." "I promise, Mama. I promise." At 3:30 a.m. on August 14th, 1958, Gladys Love Presley closes her eyes and doesn't open them again. Elvis is holding her hand when it happens. He feels the exact moment when the life leaves her body, when the woman who gave him everything slips away into whatever comes next. For a moment he doesn't believe it. This can't be happening. She was just talking to him. She was just telling him she loved him. But the machines stop beeping. The monitors show flat lines, and suddenly Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, the most famous entertainer in the world, is just a 23-year-old boy who has lost his mother. The doctor arrives within minutes. Dr. Clark, who has delivered this news too many times in his career, puts his hand on Elvis's shoulder. "Elvis, son, she's gone. I'm sorry. We did everything we could." Elvis doesn't respond immediately. He continues holding his mother's hand, stroking her hair, whispering words no one else can hear. Then, slowly, the reality hits him like a physical blow. "No," he whispers. "No, no, no. She can't be gone. She can't be." The sound that comes from Elvis then is unlike anything the hospital staff has ever heard. Not a scream, not a wail, but something deeper, more primal. The sound of a heart breaking so completely that it might never heal. Vernon rushes into the room, sees his wife's still form, his son's devastation, and his own composure finally crumbles. The two men hold each other and cry with a grief so profound it seems to shake the walls of the hospital room. Dr. Clark waits respectfully, then gently suggests they step outside to handle the necessary arrangements. But Elvis can't move, can't leave her, can't accept that this is real. "Son," Dr. Clark says softly, "you need to be strong now. Your mother would want you to be strong." This is the moment when someone tells Elvis Presley to be strong when his world has just ended. The moment when he's expected to handle this loss with dignity and composure because that's what strong men do. But Elvis can't be strong, doesn't want to be strong. His mother is dead, and he feels like he's dying too. "I can't," he whispers through his tears. "I can't be strong without her. She was everything. Everything." The next several hours pass in a blur of arrangements, phone calls, and decisions that Elvis is in no condition to make. Vernon handles the funeral home, the burial plot at Forest Hill Cemetery, the countless details that death demands, even when you're too broken to think clearly. Word of Gladys's death spreads quickly through Memphis, then across the country, Fans begin gathering outside Graceland, leaving flowers, cards and prayers. The media requests statements, interviews, photographs of Elvis in his grief. But Elvis disappears. He goes to Graceland, locks himself in his room, and refuses to see anyone except Vernon and a few close friends. He doesn't eat, barely sleeps, and spends most of his time sitting by her grave once she's buried, talking to a headstone as if she can still hear him. On the third night after the funeral, August 17th, 1958, Elvis is alone in Graceland. Vernon has gone to bed, exhausted by grief and the logistics of loss. The mansion feels enormous and empty, full of reminders of the woman who will never again walk through its rooms. Elvis wanders the house like a ghost, touching things that belonged to his mother, smelling her perfume on clothes she'll never wear again. He ends up in the living room, where her favorite chair sits empty, and the silence is so complete it feels like a physical presence. That's when he sees it. His guitar, the acoustic Gibson he's had since he was a teenager, leaning against the wall where his mother always liked to see it. "Play something for me, honey," she used to say after dinner. "Play that song I like." Elvis picks up the guitar with trembling hands. His fingers find the strings automatically, muscle memory from thousands of hours of practice, but for a moment he can't remember how to make music. Music feels impossible in a world without his mother. Then, slowly, a melody comes, not one he's heard before, but one that seems to emerge from his grief itself, simple, haunting, beautiful in its sadness. His voice follows the melody, words coming from somewhere deep inside his broken heart. "Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go." The song pours out of him like water from a spring, pure and unstoppable. It's not about romantic love, though it will be interpreted that way when the world hears it. It's about the love between a mother and son, about the tenderness that shaped him, about the sweetness of memories that will have to sustain him for the rest of his life. "Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill." He sings for 2 hours straight, the same song over and over, adding verses, changing words, polishing what will become one of his most beloved ballads. Each repetition is a prayer, a conversation with his mother, a way of keeping her alive through music. When he finally stops singing, the sun is beginning to rise over Memphis. Elvis feels something he hasn't felt since the moment his mother died. Peace, not happiness, not healing, but a kind of acceptance that this is how he'll carry her with him. Through music, through love made audible. 3 weeks later, "Love Me Tender" is recorded at Radio Recorders in Hollywood. Elvis insists that it be his next single, despite objections from his manager Colonel Parker, who thinks it's too soft, too vulnerable for Elvis's rock and roll image. "This one's not about image," Elvis tells the Colonel. "This one's about love." The song is released on September 19th, 1958. It goes to #1 immediately, becomes Elvis's fastest climbing single to that point. But the success isn't what matters to Elvis. What matters is the letters. Thousands of letters from fans who understand. Fans who have lost mothers, fathers, children, spouses. Fans who find comfort in Elvis's vulnerability, who hear their own grief reflected in his voice. A mother in Ohio writes, "My son died in Korea last year. When I heard you sing 'Love Me Tender,' I cried for the first time since his funeral. Thank you for giving my grief a voice." A young woman in California writes, "I lost my mother to cancer. Your song helps me feel like she's still with me." An elderly man in Tennessee writes, "I've been married to my wife for 47 years. Your song reminds me to tell her I love her while I still can." Elvis keeps every letter, reads them all, understands that his pain has somehow become a bridge to other people's pain, that his loss has created something that helps others carry their losses. 60 years later, Love Me Tender remains one of Elvis's most popular songs. It's played at weddings and funerals, in moments of joy and moments of sorrow. It's been covered by hundreds of artists, translated into dozens of languages, and has sold millions of copies worldwide. But more than its commercial success, the song endures because of its honesty, because it captures something true about love and loss that transcends time, culture, and circumstance, because it reminds us that the deepest pain can create the most beautiful art. Music historians often overlook Love Me Tender when discussing Elvis's greatest achievements. They focus on his revolutionary early recordings, his comeback special, his Vegas years. But those who understand the man behind the legend know that this song represents Elvis at his most authentic. Not the entertainer, not the sex symbol, not the cultural icon, but the son who loved his mother more than anything in the world. In interviews years later, Elvis rarely spoke about his mother's death directly. It was too painful, too personal for public consumption. But when asked about Love Me Tender, his voice would soften, his eyes would get distant, and he would say that one came from a real place. That one came from love. Gladys Love Presley died at 3:30 a.m. on August 14, 1958. She never saw Graceland completed, never met her daughter-in-law Priscilla, never held her granddaughter Lisa Marie. She missed everything that came after, all the triumphs and struggles that would define the rest of Elvis's life. But in a very real sense, she never left him. Every time someone plays Love Me Tender, every time the song provides comfort to someone in their darkest hour, every time love wins over loss, Gladys Presley's influence continues to touch the world. The night of August 17, 1958, when Dr. Clark told Elvis to be strong, Elvis couldn't do it. He was too broken, too devastated, too human, but from that brokenness came something stronger than strength. Art that heals, music that comforts, love made eternal through melody. In his darkest hour, Elvis Presley created something that would outlive them all. And somewhere, in whatever place mothers go when their earthly work is done, Gladys Presley is probably still listening to her son sing, still proud of the man she raised, still wrapped in the tender love that death cannot touch. That's the power of a song born from genuine grief. It doesn't just entertain, it heals. It doesn't just capture a moment. It captures the eternal. And 60 years later, when someone somewhere plays Love Me Tender and feels less alone in their pain, the love between a mother and son continues to change the world, one heart at a time.